record. Welcome to Let's Choose Again. Bella was over there, show them Bella, enticing me with her latte from Mugs, our favorite, one of our favorites. What kind did you get?
I got the tiramisu latte. But what we like about this place is they have these things called croffles, and it's a croissant waffle. And that's what I got as well. So I got a croffle.
And they have honeycomb. But last time we were there, I got a Delgano, which is the espresso crystals mixed with either honey and then whipped. So good. This week, just speaking of food, I did go with one of your besties and we went and got sushi at Mint and it was delish. So good. So good. Now they started charging for my raw wasabi by the droplets.
What?
By the droplets.
That's not fair. You're probably the only one that gets that.
As much as I like of it. And then we couldn't stop there. So we had to go directly to normal ice cream and get a triple dip dulce. We walk in and we act like we might one time order something different than salted vanilla. It will never happen because we have to get salted vanilla triple dipped with dulce. And it's just like a game changer. So if you haven't been there,
normal,
go.
It's called normal ice cream.
But it ain't normal. It's so good.
Well, I had some sushi too at our Takumi place here. So good. We brought my boyfriend's sister. She was visiting us from doing a working program up in Mammoth. And then she had a few days before she went home. So she came and stayed with us and we went to the beach and we got dinner and just hung out, which was nice.
Tell them your amazing little spoof on the coaches. April Fools.
I think that there's many things that you can do for April Fools for our coach. And so some of us, we showed up in pajamas. And then as we were doing our warm-up lap, we just kept going and went straight into the playground that was right by our fields. And our coaches it was funny. They were like, what are they doing? But the funniest part was you could actually see us through the bushes on the playground. So it was like we were a bunch of little ants just crowding. And there was like those poor kids that were on the playground when 20 girls come and
it was horrifying.
Sprinting. And then today we played kickball at practice, which I don't think I've played a fun game at practice since, oh my gosh. I mean, it's been years. But it was definitely enjoyable. Our team is very fun. And we have just a good camaraderie.
I love that. So after last week, not talking about the body to people, but introducing subjects with bodies, it really has been amazing how many people things were coming up to them. I was getting texts all week about, a lot of things are bubbling up to the surface. And one thing that just kept on coming up is I had someone telling me about at the teacher's lounge, all the teachers coming together and bonding over how fat they are. And just, I believe that we bond over using our processes, but we are defaulting to a very low frequency process. And so the other thing is D1 athletes, all of them together, just very much, it was more of a bodies conversation of, oh, I look fat in the skirt. I look fat. And so that really brought me to a decision today that I really wanted to talk about us not defaulting to a level of words that we are casting spells on ourselves. Like spelling is our spells on ourselves. That is why it's called spelling. We are casting words as directions, the instruction manuals for our subconscious mind. And so what we say to ourselves and how we bond with people really does matter. It's not just happening. We need to be conscious of it.
I think that there are many aspects of it, and it's not only talking about bodies, it's a lot of low level speaking that you learn about when you're in middle school or high school, and you're learning to not gossip about people. And I feel like that is very similar because when you can talk about someone else, you think, and someone agrees with you, you think that you're bonding, you think that you're feeling better about the situation, you think that you're having some point of connection, but you're really not. And at what cost? And I also feel like when you grow or when you meet someone that is very much a shit talker, you if you can take a step away, then you think, oh my gosh, I'm actually scared to be friends with you because think of how much stuff you're saying to me. I can't even imagine how much you're saying behind my back. But I think that same with talking about our bodies, talking about other people, or just any of these things that we need to talk about outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel better and feel like a hierarchy, feel better than other people is something that I think that a lot of people and women especially default to instead of looking within and figuring out our own problems. I think it's that saying of whatever you're pointing out in someone else is the insecurity that you actually have within yourself.
When we are gossiping, our ego self tries to kick us up that we are one level higher. And we are not bred on this primal earth to have fulfillment. We are bred for survival. And so we instantly go into comparison and rankings and where do we rank with these people? But the true sense is we are a higher consciousness that is separated in forms. And that is why the subconscious mind does not know if you are talking to itself or about someone else or yourself. So anytime you are literally bonding over gossiping, your subconscious mind actually thinks it's writing code about you. So anything that you are saying about someone outside of yourself, you are also writing that instruction manual. And what feels like connection and bonding with that person is actually at the same time disconnecting you from yourself.
Yeah. And I think that we've all been there in that moment where you're talking shit on someone and maybe they walk in the room, or maybe you send that screenshot to the person on accident or something like that. I I have like one scenario when I was younger that I remember. It was after a party and I was talking to a friend and I was talking about another friend. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad she left," or something, and she was still there. And the feeling that I had of, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. What if she heard?" And then also I in that moment I realized that I didn't even necessarily mean that comment. I was just trying to connect with the other person that I was talking to. And I think that that's very similar as sometimes when we don't have anything to say to someone that maybe isn't our closest friend. If you have a mutual disagreement about someone, it feels like a connection point. And something in high school that I really appreciated is since I had such a close group of friends, we all like figured out our problems within the group of us, and there was only four of us. And so yes, I knew that if I piss this person off, like she's going to go talk to this person, but it was such like a family bond instead of I would hear about other people in my grade or in the school of these huge groups talking about these groups and all of that, like rumors spreading around and all of this stuff. And I was just so thankful that I wasn't intertwined with all of that drama. The only drama I was in was my little family best friend group. And we didn't care about anyone else. We were just in our own little bubble. We weren't trying to go outside and talk about other people because, oh my gosh, Mom, there's a Frenchie in a sweater outside. So cute. Anyways, because you never know when you're talking about someone, you never know what that person is going to go do with that information. And when that loop comes around and you have that person text you and say, why did you say that? And that's never a good feeling to have.
So also what we're saying about gossiping is it's in the 4 agreements. And we love that book, but I think a lot of us just skim over, oh yeah, be impeccable with your words, don't make assumptions, don't gossip, do your best. And it's like light and fluffy, but these are deep, rich Toltec teachings that have lasted through eons because they are so powerful. They know that the mirror looks back at you. They know that you are your universe. So anything that you are putting out there to the universe, it is literally going to reflect right back on you, circumstantially and mentally. And I also have to say that just kind of brings me to this low level bonding. I do feel like a lot of moms say, oh my gosh, girls are so mean. They're the worst. And we are being bred up in a system that we are almost expected to act this way. Because a lot of mothers act that way. And I'm not perfect. I really do attempt to be impeccable with my word. And that is the vigilance I really tried to do. But in my past, I've had all of these experiences. And it's probably all of these experiences that's led me to really knowing to abide in myself. And even like talking about people who aren't even in the room, even if I'm saying something just that's happening to them, I also am very cautious about that because no one wants to be talked about either with their life circumstances.
Yeah.
But when we were children, part of this thing, this programming came tribally. It is a bonding, it's primal. We don't want to be kicked out. So if we can kind of climb our way to the control of the herd, then and make people underneath us, we might last longer in these groups. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel good. I remember in high school going and talking and gossiping about people and literally leaving dinner feeling viscerally sick because it's a poison.
Yeah.
It's thoughts, feelings, they come with weight. And it definitely was a poison that we were ingesting while talking about people. So it's almost an instant manifestation when it comes to what we are doing in the moment.
I think with that too, we're not talking about having issues with friends or family or whatever you're talking about. It's that level of bonding over low stimulus and low levels of conversation. That's very different than having a conversation with your friend and trying to work through something that you're going through, maybe with someone else or with your family, or trying to process something. I think that as we're talking about gossiping and also this connection over shitting on our bodies and shitting on ourselves, we're not talking about when you go to your friends, and we said this in our body episode as well. It's very different when you go to your friends and say, I'm just having a really hard time today. I don't feel attractive in my outfit. I'm just really struggling. And my friends and I would come and we would say, I just really am not liking how I look in this. But it was you could tell that the comment was coming from the heart. Like the person was really genuinely struggling with this. It wasn't something to reach for compliments, or if one of my friends had said that and I said back, oh my gosh, me too, she would look at me like, what? This has nothing to do with you. And I think that those are the type of conversations that we are saying we need to stop bonding with each other about, with the conversations that are like, oh my gosh, I just feel so this. And someone else is like, me too. Like, I just feel, that's not what we're saying. Like, you should obviously have these conversations, these deep level conversations with your friends, but in a way of maybe you're having something in that day, in that moment right then, that you genuinely are having a feeling and you would like, or something you've been struggling with, not a connection point.
Yeah. And just because we're talking about groups of people bonding over tearing our own self down, but we are bred for survival, and that means comparison. So I had a girlfriend come in and they were at work, and the women were talking about, oh, I'm fat and I'm fat. And she's like, oh, I've gained weight too. And then they were really mad at her because they're like, well, if you're telling us that you've gained weight, then we're all even horrible. And so she's like, oh, wow, they're all ganging up on me now. And the thing is, I've realized in my life, low level, low frequency conversations usually don't end well. Gossiping, low level, it usually is just the whole frequency is off. And what we are wanting to create in this episode and the episodes to follow is we want to all up level as humans, as women together. We want to set our bars higher. We want to talk about not each other, but what is going to inspire us. And that doesn't mean gaslight. When we're going through hard things, we can be there for each other, but also just defaulting to what we've been taught is not going to raise us up higher. And that just leads me to ask you, because I know we've all partaken in these, is what we repeatedly consume. What we consume, we normalize. And what we normalize, we become. And when we're watching Netflix shows and all of these series, our brain goes into alpha. So our conscious brain goes to sleep and we go into a brain wave that we're really inputting consciousness, subconscious behavior wiring. So when we're watching all of these shows that are high drama, high intense, do you feel like that normalizes these behaviors for some people? Are they trying to almost mimic them? At what level are we becoming the shows we're watching?
I think if you're not watching those shows and thinking, oh my gosh, this person's crazy, then yes. I mean, I have some reality. I'm definitely not a big reality TV person. I get really bored really fast. But now that Love Island has become so big, I've watched the past 2 seasons, and same with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I've watched that as well. But I think that's something might be a little bit of a side trek, but when you're watching these shows and you hear the characters constantly say, this is a show for you, but this is my real life. And I think that's something that we get so intertwined in is, you're watching these shows and you're talking to your friends, you're like, I hate her. I hate them. This person, oh my gosh, I just hate them. And when you are genuinely getting that involved and you're putting your personal emotions on these reality TV stars, I think that is, you're not drawing the line. Your subconscious and the way that you're acting, you're scooping to their level when you actually are getting that engaged with these shows. And I think that is what you need to be careful with. Like, I can watch the Secret Lives or whatever reality show, and I kind of just watch for entertainment, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're crazy, but I don't really have a opinion on any of the people, because I think that there's such a huge process that goes on behind the scenes and in the lines, and it's for TV, it's for money. And I also think that there are some people who are still very asleep within themselves and are interested in being maybe on a show like that or acting that way. And I just know that that isn't who I am. So I don't need to be super entwined with that, but it's still good television and it's still interesting. But I think you need to see within yourself, is this actually bringing up something that feels real? Because this isn't real and you've never met this person and you're never going to. So how connected are you feeling in the shows? And when you feel very connected, I think that to answer your question, like, yes, it's connecting a little too much. It's bringing you down to their level.
Well, there is a law of residency, and that is just like gravity. When we are in that type of frequency, we really are attracting similar frequencies. And so I agree with you. Along those lines, I think social media and the scrolling also turns off our conscious brain
Yeah,
because
that's
we cannot interpret that fast all of those cues that are going, like our brains literally are not made to process on that
that much.
level.
Yeah. What for me personally, I don't get very hooked when it comes to a television show. That is a very different part of my brain than scrolling. And it's like that quote where we're like, oh my gosh, we're so deep into technology that watching television is being off electronics, which I just totally feel like that. I'm like, oh, I need to get off my phone. Let me go watch a show. But watching a show, I feel honestly, I feel so much joy when I get to watch a new show. I love it so much. And I'm very bad at finding new things as well. And so, but for me, for a long time, I've had a lot of issues when it comes to social media and self control. My screen time, even trying to run my business, when I have Instagram on my phone, I can't focus. I can't. I feel like I'm not even a real person. I don't know how to control myself. And the amount of comparison, the amount of anxiety, the amount of, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, and I should post it. Oh my gosh, okay, should I take pictures of myself and all of this stuff that comes up and seeing other people. And it is so toxic to me. And I really do try my best to stay off of it. And I'm like everyone else, I'm on the app, but I really try because the comparison of lives and of bodies and everything through that app, there's literally nothing like it. There's no feeling in the world that I could describe the comparison than looking at things on social media, Instagram.
One thing is it's so saturated, and we're all up leveling in some way of our life. We are becoming new versions of ourselves. And so we're starting new businesses, and we're seeing a lot of people who are doing the same. And I love having expanders in my life. I love seeing people who do things that are like one step further than me. And I'm like, oh, if they can do this, I can do it. And
Yeah.
it expands me. But sometimes when you get oversaturated with the marketplace on a platform like that, your brain tells you, everyone's already done this. There's
Yeah.
no room for me. I can't do this. And so I think it's really great to like hit in for some information or to do your putting it out there in the world. But if you keep on going, and if you also like social media, we have to be really careful with our desires, because there's a lot of people who are going to come back to you to take away what you want to do from you. You have to be ready for some comments. You have to be ready. So if you're
I'm not
just
ready.
leaking, yeah, I know. If you're just leaking out these emotional places in you that you have not found your own stability in, you're not, clear on your knowing or your direction, you just need to be ready and not let social media give you the oversaturation, give you the wobble, because it will certainly do that if you are not solid in yourself.
I think there's also something when it comes to social media of when, since we're talking about not shitting on ourselves and we're talking about comparison, let's say you are at home and maybe right now for people my age, it's spring break, or you see people traveling and they're taking all these pictures and they're posting them and you're feeling jealous and all of the things. I kind of have to sit back and think, this person is on a trip in Europe or where the most amazing place, it looks amazing, but they're taking their time to sit there and post on Instagram. And that is like, just even having that thought is something that can pull me out just slightly of that comparison and of that jealousy, because I really try my best that when I'm on a trip or when I'm doing something that is once in a lifetime, I'm really truly there doing it for myself. And of course, I think we had talked about this before, but I'll take pictures and I'll try and post them after they're taken, after I'm done, after I've lived the experience, because I'm trying to live it for myself instead of being like stuck in this digitalized world where we do everything for show. And I think that when we're sitting there comparing ourselves, it's almost like another type of low level thinking, because instead of having these people that are just, instead of having real life um, experiences, it's for show. We're showing other people. We're doing it for a facade, for a profile, for likes, for comments. When you think of someone at Paris, at the Eiffel Tower, and they're going like this, like they're looking at their phone to see how many people commented how cool their pictures are there. I think that is just another type of low level behavior, and then we're comparing ourselves to these because of the image. But instead, it's like these people aren't really living their lives. It's living it through something.
A
Yeah, I don't know.
lens,
Yeah.
a filter.
Yeah. And then we're
Living your life through a
seeing that
filter.
filter and we're biting and we're
Mhm.
grasping, we're catching ourselves as the viewer and as the poster. When you're the one doing the thing or when you're the one viewing it, you need to take a step back. And it's hard. It's hard to take a step back and not compare yourself. And it's also really hard to be doing something cool and not post about it. And I think just having 1 second of taking a step back and just really trying to think of if you were living 30 years ago again, like in the digitalized era wise, like technology, to try and kind of, let's regress the digital media and
Let's
freaking
regress
live
in a
life.
good way.
That's my PSA.
I'm surrounded with so many people and so many women, and they have luxurious lives. They are doing so many amazing things. And you and I even stayed in with our friends in Mexico, and they were telling us about an influence that stayed at their house, who was a literal nightmare. And then I looked at her feeds and I was like, these photos look like she is the happiest person in the world. The best everything is going on for her. And really, we all know, even if you are a top model, even if you are a D1 athlete, even if you are pro, even whatever it is, you know what is between your ears. You know the story and the narrative that you are actually living with, because
Yeah.
this outside is one experience, but we all know that there is an entire universe going on in someone's mind, and only they know what they are thinking. And so that is what I feel like you and I really are here to tap into. That's what I want to change, because on social media, we watch these feeds, we watch these athletes, we watch the whole scenarios, but yet we know the internal turmoil that they are experiencing. And so it's like, how do we line up when Don Miguel Ruiz in the 4 Agreements says, be impeccable with your word? That means that we are impeccable in our mind and our body. That is when our unity is there, because what is matching through our senses is also what is matching in our consciousness. And so then we are fully being present. We're not in spaces or on the court or on the field, but yet thinking completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your experience that you've had so much time in what we would want to think of the flow of the game, but what is the prep time before? How do you manage your emotions after? Like, what are you saying to yourself before the game? How are you ending the game? How are you controlling all of the emotions? Because I do know we all have a default system. And after a game, I have seen you pick the one thing that maybe wasn't the best. And then that is what we're grinding on. Like, instead of being like, oh, this is what I really did. This is what, like, we kind of default to the one thing that maybe wasn't the very best.
Well, I'm probably not one to talk because in all of my life, I'm probably the furthest healed from sport. Like I've done all this work over here, but I am like still at stage 1 of trying to heal within my sport.
You've got 6 months left.
I know, like I'm almost done. I think I stopped trying to heal it and I just was like, okay, it'll finish when you finish. So just ride it out. But something that I have tried to do is I just kind of try and push the thoughts away when I have those worries or those thoughts. I just kind of am like, nope, nope. And my brain tries to go to worst case scenario. And sometimes it was worst case scenario. I've had thoughts going into a season of, well, what if I don't play? And what if I don't this and that? And I didn't play. I played one game. And like it was worst case scenario. It was worse than what I thought the worst case scenario could have been. And I'm still here and I'm still playing. And it was fucking terrible. But I made it through, and I think that after living that situation, I was just kind of thinking it can't get worse than that. It really can't. And I felt through this past season that demon come back up after maybe I had a game where I didn't play very much or I hadn't started or whatever it was. And that worst case scenario type part in my brain started rolling. And I think that it's also because of the system of the sport of if you play one bad game, you're done forever. With some cases, if you have one bad game, your coach will never give you a second chance. You need to move because that was it for you. And I applaud my coaches because they told me that that wasn't the case at our program, and it wasn't. And every time that I had that feeling, they proved me wrong and they played me. And so I kind of had to learn just to ride out each emotion. If I had a good game, then that was great. Then maybe I didn't start the next game and I felt crappy. And then the next game I started and I just realized that all of the feelings were pretty temporary. But I mean, comparison, I've just had to learn because, and I was telling my teammate this today, that the people that I grew up playing against, some of them are playing in the NWSL. And I've just kind of had to accept that that didn't happen to me. And the past years, I tried so hard. That's what I wanted. And I felt like I was always climbing and like I was almost there, but I wasn't. And I just thought that if I could just get to that D1 school, if I could just get over that hump, that I would be there and I would feel like I made it. But I never fully felt like I made it. And I've just kind of had to accept that that wasn't my life path. That wasn't what was meant for me. And it was meant for them. And it kind of just put terms in a very black and white. And I've accepted it. I'm not a national player. I play at my NAIA school. I'm very happy here. And that this is where my life has taken me. There's some things that are out of control. And instead of just accepting that they're out of control, we try and internalize them and turn it on ourselves and say, we weren't good enough. Why weren't we this? Why weren't we that? But when you look at the grand scheme of things, how much control do you really have on situations that happen?
that you have your control that is inside your body. And that is one thing that I really did witness in some of these situations with you. The outside really did seem to create the inside, but then you were stronger than the outside. And you really came to a place inside yourself that you started setting your set point of your emotional regulation. You stopped looking at the coach for your am I an okay human? You stopped looking outside of yourself. You took all of your energy back and then you started using your set point. And it wasn't easy because you were still in the system, but you did build yourself back from the inside out, and the inside became your sacred space where that was where your safety lied, not outside in someone else's eyes to tell you how you are as a player or a person.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of growth in you, and any great person has that chrysalis. Everybody becomes a diamond by the pressure. The pressure is what builds more desire. And if we don't leak it out to false idols and other people, if you gave all of your power to that coach, I don't think you'd still be playing. You built something back inside of yourself stronger. And that's what we all need to do. We need to be stronger than the outside world, because the outside world shifts and changes, but we also need to spend time inputting ourselves. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 95% of them are the same shitty thoughts that we thought the day before. And if we're unhappy, I have so many people who it looks like they have the best lives ever. I mean, it is like TV worthy, but when I really get them in here and we start talking, they don't feel good inside. They are tortured inside. And so it's kind of like nothing will ever change, especially if you're still in your family systems, but nothing will ever change if we don't become sovereign and start to input our own feedback into ourselves. And that is like, first of all, we have to be aware when people are bonding over low level conversations or bonding in comparison, gossiping. What is our authenticity? What is being impeccable? What does that mean to us?
I think that if, let's say the person listening, they're like, okay, that's me. I bond over low level conversation. I think that the first step of just trying to change it is you obviously have those feelings inside yourself. So speak about it differently. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, what, I just felt so fat in this today, or in a sense of you're trying to get attention and you're trying to build this camaraderie, talk about it in a different way. Say to your friend, I've just really been struggling today because of this. Like, I think approaching it in a more vulnerable state can just begin to change that program, because you obviously want to talk about it. You obviously are struggling with something. You're obviously feeling a type of way. So how about we say it in a real sense, instead of saying it as a, what would you even call that? A very attention seeking.
I know for me, I had to within myself, just like when you go through things, no one could do this for me. I had to at some point transmute those thoughts by myself. And yes, it is okay to come to someone saying, I am really struggling with this, but the chosen word is I am. And I really started noticing what I was putting after I am. And that word and that frequency is really what is just repeating back to me. And so it's one of those things that I almost had to cut myself off from those conversations. I had to get more quiet. And then if I was going to go into conversation, it wasn't about those things. And I definitely had to cut myself off of social media, or like, that person's exercising or that food, or I had to cut myself off because unfortunately you go to people or your friends and you're like, I feel fat, and they want to give you suggestions of diets or suggestions. So you get in more confusing thoughts. And if we're just ruminating in all of these different thoughts about ourselves in other ways of what we're not good, literally speaking them out loud to people is such a reinforcement that they are true for us. Silence is amazing. Silence, coming inside of ourselves, being aware of what is coming up for us. And I also thought what you said was so good, because another law in this universe is polarity. And one of the ways that we actually restructure our subconscious mind is the universal energy can never be destroyed. If there is energy, it is on forever. And each thought has a polarity. So there's weakness and then there's strength. And everything that you are saying, I am ugly, you write the opposite in, and then you alchemize and you practice saying the other words to yourself. You say you're the opposite end of what you're saying before you go to sleep at night. You say the opposite end when you're waking up. You begin to become the captain of your own ship. And that is the only way we are going to master these things, is being aware. The other thing is, I want to talk about desire, because as children, we wanted things, but we really early on realized we had desires, we had wants, but because of our situations, our parents, we were not going to get our wants met. So we learned how to taper our desires down. So now when you have a desire, like in business growth, next stage, moving up the ladder, you'll have the desire and it feels like freedom, but then you have a natural opposite desire that just comes in. You can't have that. And I've watched you do this in your business, where you had to literally go through each stage, and you would get really comfortable in the next stage, and then you would hit the next desire point where it was hard for you. And then you would have to move through that next stage, and then you would hit that next level that you have these little hurdles through your business. And so can you explain to me some of the self-talk, some of the things that you were saying to just keep that momentum and inertia going forward, so you didn't just go into apathy and stop? You have been pressing forward for so long.
Yeah, I do have to say that when it comes to a goal that you're working towards or something, not attaching your whole personality, your worth, everything onto that goal is very important. And that's the same thing with sports. When we attach our whole identity to that sport, to that business, to that goal, and then parts of it doesn't succeed, or maybe it's not going the way that you think it was going to go, then you're in return going to take that more personally, and just worse than if you were doing that in a more positive way. And I think that we need to learn, how you were saying, being sovereign and staying within yourself. You had to understand that there was more towards your issues. It wasn't really about the body, or it wasn't really about the lack of, like, you comparing yourself to your friends. And there was something that was so much deeper. And I think that a lot of people still aren't at the point where they have understood the deeper part, that there are thoughts behind it, that if I'm not feeling that good in my body during that day or in general, there's so much more to life, but we are so stuck in, no, this is the most important part. And I think that it's really important in our overall theme of not shitting on ourselves, is to understand that there's more to life than clothes. There's more to life than weight, than image, than Instagram, than your profile, all of those things. But to go back to the question of business, I started my business because I wanted to have something that was mine, and I wanted to learn something new, and I wanted to gain skills that I thought was hard. I wanted to prove, I remember saying, I just want to prove this to myself, that I can actually commit to something and stick with it and really just try to accomplish not even a physical goal of making money or succeeding. I just wanted to accomplish building something by myself. And that's what I have done, and that's what I've been doing. There I've had a lot of reflection because it's been about a year since I started, and I could have different opinions about it because I only have 200 followers on Instagram, or I don't have a full book. I'm not booked out all the time. It's not my sole income. There are things that maybe I still desire that I haven't been able to achieve yet. Going back and just really appreciating in myself and the having self-talk of positive, and by looking back and say, oh, at this point in time last year, I didn't know how to do this skill. And it could be so small, like with Paisley starting and doing a lot for this podcast. 2 months ago, she didn't know how to use her computer at all. I'm just kidding. But
Wait, tell them the first time you took my mouth trays, how hard you were
oh
on
yeah,
yourself, and tell them what I told you.
well, I think there's multiple processes, and it's the same thing of when you started learning how to use CapCut. I'm like, it's so hard to learn something new. And I am one who I'm very hard on myself. So I had done something for my business. I practiced on Paisley for the first time. I had done it once on myself and then once on Paisley, and I was so frustrated. And she looked at me, she's like, haven't you only done this one other time? And I was like, well, yeah, but I'm really frustrated. And I think that we get so ahead of ourselves and we feel like the progress is never going to come. Or it's almost like when you are young and you're painting and you're horrible because you're 5 years old and you just want to be like a professional painter, and you feel like that process is going to I mean, I'm still not a good drawer. I'm 20, so that's but my point is pushing yourselves to actually learn something and to actually just keep learning and growing is something that I have experienced like a lot of joy. And the one thing I say to myself is someone had to learn how to do this. When you're looking at the people and you're comparing yourself to those people who have the established business, they have it going on, at one point they didn't. At one point they were you, they didn't know how to do it. Even the people who have multi-million like followers or views or whatever it is, at one point they started where you were at. And I've now found that within myself because I see people starting to learn how to do teeth gems, or I see things that they're doing, or even with the new thing that I'm learning, I'm watching other people on Instagram do it wrong in a sense. I'm like, oh, you need to turn this on a little bit more. That's like form isn't very good. And I'm like, I wouldn't have known that, but now I know that. And it's kind of just a process that you need to, it's what they always say of like fall in love with the process, but really knowing that everyone didn't know this at some point. This person had to learn how to do it. They did not know how. Everyone didn't know how. Anyone that you're looking up to, they had to go through a learning process as well. And you can learn how to do it. It might take trial and error. It might take research. But once you start and you learn the steps and you literally just start doing, you can learn whatever you're trying to learn how to do. And I think that's the thing that has helped me progress, is just knowing that maybe you're trying to get to A to H, but like there's all these steps in between. And then when you're at Z, 8, whatever, when you're at that last point, you're going to look back and be like, oh, okay, I did that whole process. And now it doesn't even feel like there was a process because you know how to do it. But when you go step by step by step, and then you actually reach that final point, you're going to look back and say, oh my gosh, wow, I just did that. I've learned all of this.
The universe does not work in instant manifestation. You go through a process, and you learn something. The universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. So you get to one place, you embody it, and then your desire for the next stage comes up. And I want to say, in between every time, all you need to do is desire something. And when you desire that thing, all of these internal voices will show up. And those are the internal voices that you are going to work with. Anything that shows up to the next level telling you you can't do it. But also, you have to have faith, because right now, what's happening is only the past thoughts that you've had.
Yeah.
Everything that you are seeing in your life, everything that is happening at this moment was literally your belief system that is mirroring you back. So even in these podcasts, I have felt so much more momentum. I have had a lot of conversations and a lot of inertia going with it. But I just started this. I just started putting the magic coins into, and there's a lot of times I don't want to overdo, because inspiration comes in the being. And I also have so much faith that the coordinates of the energetics line up to show me what is next. I don't want to sit here and stiff arm and struggle and make my ego force something, because I believe in just this amazing download of what is to come next. I don't want to force that. I just want my body to be able to receive that. And also, through our nervous system, we cannot have what we don't feel safe with. Like, I think it's 70% of lottery winners lose their money in 3 years. And most of them become homeless, drug addicts, everything else, because they got the money, but their nervous system and their belief systems could not hold the amount of that abundance. So every leveling up, we need to be supporting ourselves through what is next, because you don't want something to come your biggest order ever and you're not ready for it. You didn't calm yourself enough for that.
Yeah. That's something that I feel like you and I have really been learning, because I never really looked at the business side of energetics. I think that we do frequently look at the business side of mentality, or grind, or all of these different just generic things that we have been taught. And this goes with, because the theme today is shitting on ourselves, right? Is comparison. Whether you're comparing it with body, with sport, with lifestyle, and now moving into comparing with business, whatever someone is putting out there, that is their final product. That is their patent perfect, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and then they put it out there and they say, okay, this is the perfected version of it. And same with us, and same with every other business. And that's what I've loved learning. And the people that are actually vulnerable enough to share it, is they'll say, ever since I started my business, she said, anytime I would respond to someone, I would say, we will be right back with you. We will help you with that. Contact our whatever. And she said, I was by myself. I didn't have a single person working for me, but it's so much fake it till you make it. And I think that when it comes to comparing, and if you're someone that's starting somewhere and you're looking outside and you're looking at people, you have no idea what's actually going on inside their company, inside their posts, how their energy, how they're feeling about it. There are many things that I have posted where I'm like, oh, my booking's full. I don't have a single client. No one knows that. Maybe one of my posts, I had just done that entire set for free. No one knows that. All you see is, oh, Bella's getting clients. Oh, Bella's business is popular. Oh, wow, a lot of people are commenting on that. I think that it is important to know that the people that you are watching, and when you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I could never do that, it's, in a sense, it's fake. Like you and I have talked about, Paisley texted me the other day and she's like, well, I just filmed an entire video and I didn't hit record. And no one would ever know that. the people would always say, oh my gosh, how is she doing that? I want to do that, but I wish I could never. No. She just called me and said, I just filmed an entire 30-minute video and it wasn't recording. Like, those are the types of things that you don't see as the viewer and the person that's consuming, because that is the facade of having a successful business. And what you were saying as well of your mindset trying to keep you small. Now that I have those thoughts of, oh my gosh, what if it's not going to work out, or what if it's not happening, or I've only done this and I'm thinking very negatively, I really can say, well, I have never, like what I'm doing right now, I've never had more. So how is my brain even supposed to conceptualize me having more? Of course I'm going to be thinking this. Of course I'm going to think that I'm not good enough, or that this isn't going to work, because it hasn't worked yet. And so you can't listen to that voice, because that voice doesn't know any better. And it's like you're kind of running through quicksand trying to get out, and trying to show that voice, no, like, I got this, look, I'm changing something, but that change hasn't been done before. So you need to prove yourself wrong in that sense to kind of make it real.
The subconscious mind does not know what is true and what is false. And when we embody what is next, when we tell the subconscious mind just has all of these anxiety labels, triggers, because those showed up in your life to help you. When you had a hard time with your parents, when you had a hard time as a child, the anxiety arose, the memory arose. A lot of these thoughts came up because it was there to actually keep you safe. And so when you have a similar situation show up in the now, even though that happened when you were 6, the memory just feels similar. So what you tell those emotions in that time period is how you heal. Oh my gosh, this is this little emotion coming up that used to really try to protect me. I am going to welcome that emotion because it's here for me. I'm not going to give it a greater story. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm here to feel this. And I'm going to now implant this. And I always felt like this in climbing terms, because if you just pick 1 inch higher of a handhold, you have a whole other range of handholds. But you have to just pull yourself up 1 inch higher. And that is something that we can for sure do. But just once again, like, we have to give the meaning to our emotions. When our emotions come up, we cannot default to the other side of it. So we have to be the captains again, and we have to start talking to ourselves. Our cells literally hold all of our memory, and our heart is 5,000 times greater in magnitude than our brain. So when we are heart forward and when we are building ourselves literally for each other, talking about other people as if they are us, holding a space instead of going to lower consciousness, we're actually raising each other. And so with this being said, with this talk coming to us, what we want is for all of us to start up leveling, to bring the consciousness up, because we're only going to support each other through this, and we can hold each other in this level for each other, and not to gaslight each other, not listen to each other, but literally, like, we can do better. We can really choose together.
When it comes to trying something new, what I have learned is we have all the resources, especially with AI, and we have everything that we need to really help ourselves succeed. We're not 12 years old with an idea where you don't know how. I mean, I'm just thinking that, like you said, that these are very young thoughts and patterns. And I think it's like us feeling helpless when we're 4 years old and we don't know how to write. Do you remember, maybe you're like, I want, Mom, will you write this for me? I don't know how. Or I remember learning to read, and I just wanted to be able to read big books, but I didn't know a lot of the words, or I'd have to ask you, what is this word? What is this word? now with the stage that you and I are in at the same stage, even though we have a 30-year age difference, because we're both learning something new, but we also both have all the resources and the mental capacity to learn something new. When you tackle one feat, when you figure one thing out for yourself, it shows you like, okay, no matter how big it is, I can do it. And I feel that within myself, learning new skills, after I've taught myself one thing, after I figured out everything about how to learn how to do teeth gems, how to build find my logo, build my business, get outreach. Okay, now I know how to edit all of these things. Now that I'm tackling something completely different, I taught myself how to do that. I gave myself the resources. I flew home and said, you can show me how to do this. You can show, okay, I can order this off of you. Okay, this. And once I did that, even though what I'm learning now is completely different, I know that I will be able to find the resources to learn how to do that. For you, you've learned how to edit our videos. You've learned how to post on Instagram. So even though things are a lot bigger, now that you learn how to do those things, you feel more comfortable and confident tackling something that is completely different or to continue to grow. But I agree that we, especially as women, need to focus our energy into different things, not talking about other women, not talking about, there's just so many things that we focus a lot of our energy on, and it's not benefiting anyone. And we think that it's going to fill this hole within ourselves, but it's not. Recurring cycle, because we keep thinking that talking about this is going to make us feel better, but it never does. And if you really get to the point where you don't want to feel that way anymore, you need to look within yourself and find a different solution on what's really coming up behind those emotions.
A lot of people, they are going to listen to this, and it is like what we're even saying is going to feel hard. It's like, it's not even worth it. I'll just pick up my phone and have apathy and scroll. I'll just default. Why would I want to do this? The reason why you want to do this is because the outside does not bring the joy to the inside. You do. And where I used to think just like, oh, more money is going to make me happy. Now I love the purpose I'm living. I love sharing this message. I don't want just money. I want more experiences. I want more love. I want more people. I want more togetherness. This is like, once you find your vessel for your purpose and your portal for growth, then you want more of that. And so start living in a high level vessel. Start like having that vigilance for your life to have a higher purpose. And then that is just going to guide you heart forward. And that is something that we can all choose.
Yeah. I feel very blessed about the people that I have in my life, because due to the quality of conversation and connection that I have with those people, then when I meet someone else that is commenting on my body or commenting on things that I don't feel very comfortable, or it just feels very icky to me, I'm able to see it and recognize it, where other people who are really saturated in it aren't able to see it as much. But I think it's similar to what we talked about in our body podcast of, if it's something that you're constantly seeing within yourself, it's something that you're projecting out onto other people, and you're projecting out on to people that they don't want to be in your toxic web. And we see this a lot with teams or with attitudes, where it's like, if one person, it's, we call it like the cancer of the team. If one person has a bad attitude, if one person is doubting your ways, or the coach or the team or whatever it is, then it brings people down. It brings a level down. And it's very similar with friends or someone who's over here and they're beating to their own drum and they're doing great and they're not thinking about you. They don't want you to be sitting there talking shit on them. They're not a part of that. And so being the person that's bringing that in, you need to be more conscious about your words and your ways, because some people, they don't want to be part of your toxic cycle, or they don't want you to comment about their body or they're looking great, but you are bringing that low level into their lives by being commenting meaningful or rude things towards them, and you don't want to be the one to bring those people down, and vice versa. Like when you're the person that is actually feeling whole and confident and worthy within yourself, and then you meet someone that makes a weird stabby comment of like, oh, that you would pick that just something where you go, oh my gosh, I didn't like that comment, I didn't like how that made me feel. You don't want to be that person in someone's experience.
Exactly. And I feel like this is a really good thing when with the four agreements, a lot of assumptions, a lot of getting mixed up into other people's, what are they thinking about me? All of these other minds. So we can be impeccable with our words. We can keep the energetics that we have inside our system, because we only have so much energy for that day. And we don't want our high vibe energy leaking out. We don't want to be part of those types of conversation. So to be very much in our own lane, keeping our own impeccable word, not leaking it out, gossiping about other people, just doing our very best. And sometimes our very best is in silence. I can't tell you, I am so much, you wouldn't know it, but I am so much more quiet these days. I spend a lot of time in my desires, in my visions, inside myself, just really being there for myself. And it feels so good putting all of that energy back into my desires. And you know me, I'm here for everyone. I love everyone, but we have to really understand where we're seeping our energy out and what is making us feel certain ways. And so bringing your power back to yourself, noticing where you are letting things leave your body and bringing your love back to yourself first. You've got to put on the oxygen mask first. A king eats before he feeds the parish, because he knows, we know that this right here is what we are going to be mirrored out to everything else. You are your universe. So start with you today. Like, let's choose again. Let's get out of the program and let's choose to bring a higher level frequency together.
Yeah. I think that as we do that too, then those things that maybe once affected you so greatly, they don't affect you as much. And I think that you've seen that, and I've seen that within my life, is those aspects that we all grew up differently. We all are different people, have different backgrounds. And when there are instances going on with friends, or I mean, I would say family, but a lot of the times with friends, that something you're taking it so internally, when you really have that solitaire within yourself, where you're like, that they're just like that because that's how they grew up and that's who they are, and it has literally nothing to do with me. And the only reason that I'm dealing with this is because I was introduced to them in my life, but this has nothing to do with me. Even though you might have a little speed bump in your day, you're able to just move on. And then also you're able to not go and gossip to everyone about how you're feeling and about, oh my gosh, this person did this and this person this, and oh my gosh, because you don't, and that just keeps the cycle going of, oh, now you feel so much better that you had that conversation and that you shit on that person. And I think that just being able to see, okay, I don't like how that person handled that situation. I don't like how that person treated me or whatever the situation is. And then just taking that and letting it go and then moving on. It's a very powerful thing that a lot of people can't do.
And I will say also, don't take your vital energy and try to convince that person your way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just more powerful to see what you see, to see how you have added to that scenario, what you are contributing, and bring it back into yourself. Raise the bar within yourself and keep on. It's okay to have boundaries, but keep on raising the bar within yourself. I think that today has been a really good beginning on just noticing how we're talking to ourselves, how we're talking and bonding with other people. And I want this particular communication to keep on going. I would love for everyone to give us a like. I would love comments. I really and compliments, let's be real, but they really do help the channel when you share it, when you repost it, when you give me comments and likes, then that really does help. So keep that coming. I also love, I really do love that you're all texting me and letting me know what's coming up for you with these, because it literally, like, my heart is bursting open. I'm so appreciative. So once again, it's Let's Choose Again. And thank you for being here this week. We will see you next week.
Goodbye, everyone.
Loves. Ciao.